This Friday, November 8th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code NBASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Everyone to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Here to get into our NBA betting picks for the Friday schedule in the association. I believe there's 13 games on the docket here tonight. Of course, we'll get into each and every single game, talk about side total, any potential props we're also looking at in the game, put together our Underdog Fantasy entry, and then we'll wrap up the show, of course, with our lock and dog for the Friday night card. But joining me here to help me break everything down happening on the hardwood, I got my guy here with me at Scott Studio, Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
They're doing pretty well. Looking forward to the slate tonight. I know that the games yesterday were horrible, but people were watching the Ravens-Bengals game anyway, so it didn't really matter. But overall, ended up splitting my picks, lost the lock, had the over in the Bucks game. Utah couldn't score, but I had the DiVincenzo over 2.5 threes at plus 140. I think he took 10 of them. He made 3, so he didn't shoot well, but at least he took enough attempts. So hit a plus 140 for a dog, can't complain. But overall, mediocre day. I felt like the slate yesterday was once again, I'd say, underwhelming going in, and it turned out to be equally underwhelming when it was actually happening, because damn, the games were not very good.
Yeah, a lot of blowouts last night in the association. Honestly, I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, I was watching the scores, but I didn't actually watch any of the games. But I feel like maybe I didn't miss a whole heck of a lot on the NBA court. But yeah, we have about 8 to 9 games played by each team thus far. Kind of getting some more data points and things like that for each of these teams here. So yeah, still very, very early on here in the NBA season. So hopefully we can find some more winners here tonight in the NBA. Scott, let's get into it, man. We got 13 games on the schedule here tonight. Let's dive right into it. Let me get over, excuse me, to the odds board here first before we get into it. We'll start it off here with a rematch from a few nights ago between the Orlando Magic and the Indiana Pacers. Pacers currently looking.
You said the Magic, or you meant the Hornets?
Is it the Hornets? I thought it was a. Oh wait,
the Magic play the Pelicans. That's why I'm wondering.
Maybe I should refresh the page there. That might help. There we go. All right, updated. Pacers. They are in Charlotte here tonight to take on the Hornets. The Pacers are a 7-point favorite in this game with a total of 235.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we'll start here with the Indiana Pacers. I know Miles Turner had been questionable for several games. He was dealing with that ankle injury, but he seems to be back for this team. TJ McConnell is questionable here tonight for the Indiana Pacers. Andrew Nembhard is probable, and Aaron Nesmith is going to be out here tonight for the Pacers. For the Hornets, Miles Bridges is out here tonight. Brandon Miller is probable, and Nick Richards and both Mark Williams are out here tonight, and they'll continue starting Grant Williams at the 5 there, Scott. But right now, Pacers laying 7 in Charlotte. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, it's a lot of points to lay with Indiana on the road, but I understand it when you're looking at all the injuries. Charlotte has no center. They're using Taj Gibson right now at center, so not exactly many options. But Indiana's been okay. I mean, they have not been great. They're 4-4 this season. I know Nembhard's battled some injuries. He's played through them. But you mentioned before, Nesmith's going to be out. McConnell's questionable. But I think Indiana is the better team. First glance, I thought about the over, but I'm not sure if Charlotte has enough weapons offensively with all of the overall injuries they're dealing with. And Brandon Miller just came back, and he's been once again fine. He had the game-winning putback layup at the buzzer there against the Pistons, but he's still battling some shoulder soreness, so I am questioning just how close he is to 100%, because I don't think he's there. His shooting numbers have not been very good. I mean, since coming back from injury, he has shot 15 of 58 from the floor. Or sorry, I mean 15 of 54 from the floor. So, or am I doing the math wrong there? 44, I mean. So, yeah, my math skills aren't that great other in the morning. But point is, he's not shot that well from the floor. And I do think that could be a reason why I'm a bit skeptical of taking the over. The pace should be there, though, especially with LaMelo and with Haliburton going at it. I expect both of them to have solid games. So I don't mind maybe going for a PA on both guys, both Haliburton and for LaMelo. But it is tough for me to get to the over 235.5 when Charlotte's missing this many guys. And they kind of had a rock fight win against the Pistons, but the game was still pretty ugly. So I'm going to stick with the Pacers and the Hornets point guards. Give me the over on those. I hope Miles Turner can have a solid game because I don't know what other matchup you possibly want in this situation. It might be against Taj Gibson. So I don't mind maybe Turner threes in this game, but I think it's a good matchup for Siakam as well. I probably like Indiana team total over, but I'm going to go with the props there. I'll go with LaMelo and Haliburton to have solid games.
Yeah, I thought this total was a little bit inflated, like you mentioned, with all the injuries that they are dealing with. But we know the pace is definitely going to be there because ever since Rick Carlisle took over as the head coach for this Pacers team, they play at one speed and they usually force the other team to play at their pace. But are they going to be efficient enough and make enough baskets to keep up with the scoring, or at least score enough points to push this up and over the total? So I'm not sure. I think what was the other night we had Cade and LaMelo Ball. That was fun to watch between those two guys. So hopefully we get the same here with Hallie and LaMelo Ball in this game here. So my favorite play in this game is going to be the under 235.5. On the side, I really couldn't get there, like you mentioned, laying 7 points there with the Indiana Pacers here on the road. But I will definitely be on the under 235.5 in this game between the Pacers and the Hornets. All right, before we continue the conversation here, let me just remind everybody that college basketball is officially back. And if you aren't already, subscribe to the College Experience for their daily picks pod, breaking it all down. I also want to take a moment to thank all of our listeners here on the NBA Gambling Podcast. If you're going to do us a favor, head over to Spotify. If you haven't already, give us a 5-star rating and review. Only you can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the Atlanta Hawks. They are in Detroit to take on the Pistons here tonight. Pistons are laying a point in this game with a total of 227.5. Looking at the injury report here, I'll start with the Atlanta side. Guys that are officially out: Bogdanovich, Bufkin, DeAndre Hunter, Cody Zeller. And then for the Detroit Pistons, Jalen Duren left the Pistons last game with an ankle injury. He's officially doubtful here tonight with a left ankle sprain. And Asur Thompson continues to be out. So, and the rest of the guys on their injury report are pretty much guys that are on G League deals for the Detroit Pistons. Atlanta kind of took that game personally. At least Trae Young did, especially in that post-game interview against the New York Knicks the other night there. But they did get the victory against the Knicks after they were just absolutely slumping where the Atlanta Hawks. But now they're traveling to Detroit, take on the Pistons. Scott, laying a point here at home. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I feel like this is a spread that I agree with. I think it should be a toss-up between these teams. Detroit is a team that has looked better this year compared to last year. Shout out to Monty Williams. But the point is, I do think that this team is really not, I'd say, much better than Atlanta. I think these teams are definitely non-playoff teams in my eyes, or maybe even non-play-in teams. We'll see. But I do think for this one, I think I am going to go with Atlanta. I feel like even though Detroit's been playing better lately, I do think that Atlanta has the firepower and the size to give Detroit problems, because without Duren in the lineup, I know Stewart's going to be inserted into the starting lineup. It's a big loss. I mean, Duren doesn't play many minutes per game, but he's still a phenomenal rebounder. He's one of the best pure rebounders in the entire league. And I do think with that being the case, it's going to require a team effort to try to keep Capella off the boards, for example. I think I am going to go with Atlanta. I recognize this team might not be like amazing, but they beat the Knicks last game, so we'll see if they can build on some of that momentum, and that might carry over into this matchup. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta. I feel like most people will take the Pistons because of how they've played recently. They are at home. I don't mind the over in this game because Atlanta doesn't guard anybody. Like, I get it. And then I know the Hawks are once again a team that can be really painful to watch and have money on because they don't guard anybody. But I do think Atlanta's got some firepower, and I think that for this number, maybe it's because they're laying. I don't know if I'm ready to put the Pistons as favorites really over many teams in the league. I'll go with Atlanta off that win against New York, but I'm probably not going to bet it.
Yeah, I think the defensive concerns are, I think, continue to be there for me, at least for the Atlanta Hawks. I know the Knicks got off to a very slow start within the first 6 to 7 minutes in that game against Atlanta, just because I know I had the Knicks team total over as my lock on the Wednesday show, and they got hooked. They only scored 116 there, but I think the defensive concerns are going to continue to be there all season as they have been for the Atlanta Hawks here. Detroit, it's kind of hard to get a gauge on this team, but they have guys, right? They have a good mix of young talent, and they have they have veterans in the locker room. You know, the Tobias Harrises of the world, and who else? I forgot who else they had as a vet in that locker room there. But um, I think defensively they've been playing a lot better. I'll say that much. They won 2 of their last 3 games. You're right. I think this number is pretty spot on. I think if you want to get in this game, maybe look at some Cade props, maybe RA or PRAs. Coming off a game where he did have a triple double for the for the Detroit Pistons. But I think anytime that I do trust the Atlanta Hawks, especially on the road, it just doesn't go in my way. So I would look at the Pistons in this game, maybe a Pistons team total over as well. You know, yeah, I'll leave it at that much here. You got anything else for this game?
Not really. Once again, I feel like I'm going to lean more, or I'm going to go with, sorry, I can't use that word. I'll go with the over in this matchup because I still don't trust Atlanta to actually stop anybody. And I do think that Cade and Trey, kind of similar to what I said about the Halliburton and Ball matchup,
Yeah.
I can see both of them having monster games too. So I think it's going to be a point guard matchup. Cade's had back-to-back triple doubles. Not sure that's going to continue. If you want to, it's 10-1. But I don't trust Trey to guard anybody. Trey assists, I think, is intriguing. With Duran not being there, not exactly sold on Stewart as a rim protector. So I do think you might get some free lobs to Capella in there. Capella points might be worth a look, actually, because they're going to be lacking a bit of size on the interior, and you might get some putback rebounds, for example, for Capella. Don't mind the Trey potential, like 25 and 13 game, and Capella ends up with like 18 and 10. I can see that happening.
Capella's points right now are sitting at 9.5 in this game. He did have 18 in the last game against the New York Knicks at home.
He was in the closing lineup, too.
Yeah. His minutes have, I think was his, not last season, but the season prior, where he was just an automatic bet for us on the over on his rebounds just because he was getting the minutes. But for whatever reason, I know they have some depth behind him there as well, so maybe they're not playing him as much. But at least the last, so 4 of the last 5 games for Clint Capella, he has had 10 points or more, and he's had 10 or more rebounds in that span as well. But last 2 games in particular, last season, 17 points, 15 rebounds, 11 points, and 16 rebounds for Clint Capella. So keep that in mind here if you want to get on some player props for the Hawks and the Pistons. All right, let's keep it moving here. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the New Orleans Pelicans. They are in Orlando to take on the Magic. Magic are laying 6.5 points in this game at home with a total of 213. Looking at the injury report for the Pelicans, Jordan Hawkins, Herb Jones, CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray are all out here tonight. Trey Murphy III is doubtful, and Zion is also questionable here tonight. So another team that's just decimated by injuries. For the Orlando Magic, excuse me, Paulo Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. are out here tonight. And that is pretty much it here. So Magic, definitely the more healthier squad here. A lot of big names out for the New Orleans Pelicans here, Scott, but 6.5 is a number for the Magic at home hosting the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, I just feel bad for Orlando. Banchero got injured and their season was basically over. So we'll see when he comes back. But, they've been on a losing streak. They've lost 5 straight. These teams are both not very good right now. Yeah. I don't know if I want to back either team laying 6.5, but I understand it because at least Orlando's at home. The weird part is that Orlando's actually 2-0 at home. They've played 9 games. So they've played 7 games on the road already, which is pretty unlucky for them. So I think it's a good spot for them to get back on track. But if you're asking which team I can tolerate more, it's Orlando. I can actually tolerate that team. Think my main opinion for this game would be the under for the Pelicans team total. I don't see them scoring much in this game. Orlando defensively is still pretty solid. They gave up 118 to Indiana. Okay, Indiana plays fast. Gave up 102 to Oklahoma City. Not bad. 108 to Dallas. They've been okay defensively. I think that, once again, New Orleans missing so many guys might struggle. This should be an ugly game. First team to 100 wins. It's going to be ugly because all the best players are injured. But especially if Zion's not going to play, New Orleans doesn't have many options offensively, and Orlando still has a defensive pride and identity, even without Banchero in the lineup. So I like the under in this game, but I think I'll go with Pelicans team total under. On the road, New Orleans is currently 1-3. Orlando hasn't played a home game in about 2 weeks. So give me the under here for the Pelicans team total.
Yeah, maybe it could be on the home crowd here, being back at home, and get a victory here tonight. But I'm not sure if they can cover the number of 7 points here. I agree with you that I think that if um the Magic win this game, it's going to have to be ugly, where it's going to have to be a grinded out dogfight type of game here. So I would look at the full game under. I agree about your pick about the Pelicans under team total under there as well. This could be something like 100 to 94, something in that range, where it does get under this total here. So under for me in this game here between the Pelicans and the Magic. Moving along here to the next game on the schedule, we've got the Brooklyn Nets. They are in Boston to take on the Celtics. Celtics laying 13 points in this game with a total of 222. Injury report for the Brooklyn Nets. They will be without Bojan Bogdanovic, Day'Ron Sharpe, Trendon Watford, and Noah Clowney is questionable here tonight. For the Boston Celtics, Jaylen Brown continues to be out. He's dealing with a left hip injury. Luke Cornett is also doubtful here tonight. And of course, we know Kristaps Porzingis is out. And then Baylor Shireman and Anton Watson are on G League assignment right now. Boston laying 13 here at home, Scott, against your Brooklyn Nets. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, so last year the Celtics were once again pretty solid against the Nets, but you can make the argument that the games were somewhat closer than you might have expected. But last year they faced off a couple times, and the Celtics were 4-0. So the Celtics did pretty well against this team. The last time they played, the Celtics won by a casual 50. So we'll see what happens, but I think I am going to go with Boston here at home. They are in pretty good form, especially when you factor in the injuries. I mean, without Brown, the fact is they're still 7-2. And the Nets, we know, have been good this season at 4-4. Talent-wise, though, these teams aren't very close. We know that Boston's a much better team. I think that Boston, who is off of the loss to Golden State, is going to be pretty motivated to get back on track. The Nets haven't played for a couple days, though, beat Memphis again on the 4th, haven't played since. So they've been off for a while, but they're still pretty injured. I'm going to go with Boston here. I get if you want to make the argument for the Nets because you think this team has been surprisingly decent. I said they were going to be decent until they trade off half the team. But I think that Boston, off a loss to Golden State, think they take out some frustrations on this team. And they were 4-0 against the Nets last year. They're 9-1 against the Nets in the last 10 games. So I'll go with Boston here. The Nets maybe hang around for a half, but I think Boston from 3 is just going to be too much for the Nets to handle. Give me Boston by 20. I think after losing, if they beat Golden State, maybe it's a letdown spot, but they lost to Golden State at home. So I see them being really pissed off.
Yeah, kind of hard not to be on the Celtics here in this spot, even with the guys that they are missing. You mentioned last season 4-0 straight up, 2-0-2 against the spread there. It's just the depth that this team has, right? And I think that's what really obviously propelled them to win the championship last year. And even without Brown, you still have Drew Holiday, you still have Derek White, you still have Peyton Pritchard, who's seeing a bigger role this season for this Orlando Magic team.
Boston Celtics, but close enough.
Yeah, sorry, Boston. So what did I say? Boston.
You said Orlando.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Boston Celtics. I don't know why I keep on saying Orlando, but yeah. So I think that this is an opportunity Friday night at home in Boston, coming off of the loss. I think this should be a big game for not only Jason Tatum but also the surrounding pieces there. And again, like you mentioned, the 3-point shooting is always going to be there for the Boston Celtics in this game. So yeah, give me Celtics laying the points here and team total over as well in this game. Ryan pointing out White over 4.5 rebounds is plus money. He's averaged 7 rebounds per game without Brown in the lineup. I think that's pretty good.
The only concern is that if Boston blows him out, he might not play the fourth quarter. But yes, he's a very good rebounder. He's an underrated rebounder. You know, I'm a big fan of Derek White, so I'm not going to be against any props. Yeah,
last game he did, I believe, had 26 for the Boston Celtics without Jaylen Brown there. So yeah, keep that in mind. All right. Before we do get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports, whether it's the NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. Boostover is upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and much more. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. So sign up with promo code NBA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com. Make sure that promo code NBASGPN. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We've got maybe the game of the night here. The Golden State Warriors, they are in Cleveland to take on the Cavs. Cavs are laying 4 points here at home with a total of 231. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we have questionable tags on Draymond Green, DeAnthony Milton, and Brandon Pajemski. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, pretty healthy squad. We know that Max Strus continues to be out with the ankle injury, and Dean Wade is questionable here tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs, maybe the most surprising team thus far. Actually, I think both these teams have been the most surprising team thus far this season, for me at least. But they're matching up here in Cleveland here tonight. Scott, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, biggest surprise for me was Cleveland. I thought they'd be good. I didn't think they'd be this good. Golden State over was my second favorite win total the entire season. So I was high on Golden State to go in. So I'm happy that they're actually playing well. Cleveland has been great, but I am wondering if I trust them to lay against this team because Golden State's been good on the road. They've been good at home. With or without Curry, they've just been great. Cleveland's had a couple of really close games they've had to actually sneak by, mostly against Milwaukee. I think it's game of the night as far as I'm concerned. Like, I feel like this is kind of must-watch television to get a gauge on both teams. I like the under in this game. This total feels a bit high to me. I see a bit of a playoff atmosphere between these teams. Cleveland defensively has been not as good lately as they were to start the season. They weren't great against New Orleans, got the job done anyway. But Golden State defensively has been good. Held Boston to 112. I saw them hold a couple of teams into the low 110s or even the hundreds. Cleveland, though, I think is going to have themselves a bit of a war here. I think it's going to be a close game. I think I am going to go with probably Golden State plus the points if I had to, but I think I'd rather just take the under. I see a physical game here. I think it'll be close. I kind of want to see if Draymond and Pajemski are going to play first. If they're not going to play, then I'll probably end up actually going with Cleveland, but I need Draymond in the lineup for defensive reasons. If he's not there, I'll probably go Cleveland, but assuming that Golden State's at full strength and you have Draymond and Pajemski in the lineup, then I'll go with the under. But I feel like I got to take a wait-and-see approach. I got to plead the fifth here because I got to wait to see what's going on with Golden State's injuries.
Yeah, same. I mean, those are a couple of key pieces there. Obviously, I don't think Pajemski played in that Boston game, but Draymond was out there for this team. But with the Golden State Warriors on the road this season, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. They've been going 11-12 deep, like Steve Kerr said when they started the season. And they've been doing that. They're 4-1 towards the over in their road games as well thus far this season. And the Cavs, 9-0 straight up, 8-1 against the spread there. So I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, definitely. I like the Warriors side here. I just like the way they're playing basketball. I like the depth that they do have. I mean, a lot of, I don't want to say no names, but guys that maybe aren't recognized unless you're a true Warriors fan here, but they've been contributing, and especially on the defensive side for this Warriors team. And they've been doing great offensively as well. So I agree with you that you kind of have to wait and see if those guys are going to be playing in this game with Draymond Green and Brandon Pajemski. But if those guys are in, that line maybe moves half a point, maybe a point. But I think that the Warriors are the side here for me. Definitely shop around at these two, see some plus 4.5s out there as well. But I do think this is going to be a fun game to watch. Warriors plus the points here. Not much for the total for me here. Scott, do you have anything on the total?
Once again, I feel like I'm going to go under if Draymond and company are there because I think it's going to be a war. So I see both teams killing each other, but I got to wait on the injury news.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to the Milwaukee Bucks. They are in Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Knicks. Knicks are currently laying. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. Let's get these banner up here. All right, there we go. Knicks laying 7.5 points in this game with a total of 223. Injury report, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, that the Bucks did play on Thursday night, so they get that extra time to submit that injury report. And then for the New York Knicks, on their injury report, the usual guys are out. Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson, and then Cam Payne is questionable here tonight for this Knicks team. Bucks on a back-to-back. We'll see if I know Giannis has been popping up on the injury report. We'll see if he plays tonight or not. And then New York, like we talked about earlier, coming off that loss against the Atlanta Hawks here, but back at home, laying 7.5 here. Scott, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so assuming that Giannis is going to play in this game and assuming Dame plays too, I'm going to take the points. with Milwaukee. The Knicks have been a team that I've been disappointed by so far this season. I think we all expected them to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't want to say that they kind of swapped spots with Cleveland, but it feels that way for the first couple weeks of the season. The Knicks have been pretty mid. I mean, you're looking at the actual numbers, they're 3-4. Defensively, they've been a mess, and I feel like that's the big surprise here. We thought they'd be worse with Hardenstein out and with Cat in. I'm not a big Cat guy defensively, but, I mean, they gave up 121 to Atlanta. They got kind of destroyed by Houston. They beat the Pistons, good for them. They beat the Heat, who have not been very good. A loss to the Cavs in the last home game they played. Killed Indiana. They lost to Boston by about 23 in the opener. So the Knicks have not been that great. And I understand that the Knicks are at home, and at MSG, the crowd will be into it. It's a Friday night game, and you got Giannis who's supposed to come to town. I think it's too many points. I understand that you might want to blindly fade the Bucks, but with Giannis being back in the lineup, I can't fully disrespect them. I think the game's close. I'm not picking Milwaukee to win. I think they're actually potentially live to win it. I'm not going to tell you that I think the Bucks are going to get run out of the building. 7.5, though, with the Knicks team, that I don't know if it's the matter of trying to get chemistry, Miles Bridges not really being the big of a factor, Cat not being a great defensive player, whatever reasons you want to make out, they have no bench either.
Yeah.
They are just not very good right now. And I don't want to lay 7.5. I'll go with Milwaukee, assuming Giannis plays.
Yeah, assuming Giannis plays, I thought this was a big number as well, even that they are in a back-to-back situation here. Last season, Bucks, when they were on a back-to-back, 10-5 straight up, 7-8 against the spread 8-7 towards the over there for the Bucks. And if they were on the road last season, the numbers did drop off a little bit, 2-3 straight up, 1-4 against spread, 4-1 towards the under in those spots there. But there's something I mentioned early in the season, or earlier, I should say last week, that the Knicks had three new starters in their starting lineup. And that takes a little bit for some of these teams to kind of build that chemistry and continuity with each other. Not only that, you mentioned the bench, right? That the lack thereof is
they have no bench at all.
Yeah, especially with those two guys being out for the New York Knicks with Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson, especially in that front court there. But
for the record, two guys that can't score, but that's also a factor.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, right, defensively, I think more so for those guys. But I mean, the guys mentioning in the chat here as well that Cat has been a big bright spot for this team, and I mean, he's filling up the stat sheet. He's rebounding the basketball. I think that's what's been the most impressive part about for me, at least, for Cat with this New York Knicks team. But I think eventually they will figure it out. I think they're just kind of going through those early season woes right now. But yeah, assuming Giannis is going to play here tonight, I like the Bucks in the spot here as well. Total, Scott, I do like the over in this game at 223. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm with you on the over. I feel like I don't trust either team to guard anybody. The Bucks look good. They ended up switching Trent out of the starting lineup, brought in Andre Jackson, which might have made a factor, but or did something at least. But Utah's also not any good. Now, you said Cat's been good. He's been very good offensively. He's averaging like 13 rebounds per game.
Yeah,
I still don't think he's the best defensive player on the planet. Let's put it that way. And with Giannis going to the lane, have fun trying to stop Giannis. I don't trust Cat defensively in this matchup at all. So even though I recognize Cat's been great offensively, it just seems like we know with Tibbs, they love to protect the paint, and they haven't been as good at that as with Hardenstein there, obviously. But I just think with Bridges, who's been average, is that a fair way to describe him? Like, they gave up, 6 first-round picks for him? I'm a Nets fan. I was thrilled. I was familiar with the entire Bridges experience. They brought him on. He was supposed to be a defensive anchor, or at least a guy with Anunoby who would just dominate defensively. That hasn't happened. And I feel like when you're trying to expect the Knicks to dominate or win a bunch of games, it starts with defense with Thibodeau. And that just has not been there for an identity purpose. So maybe they'll figure it out. But as of right now, I can't really trust this team to win by 8+ when defensively they've been very underwhelming. So give me Milwaukee plus the points.
Bobby Portis has actually been pretty good against his former team here as well. Just kind of trying to see what his minutes allocation has been for Bobby Portis. Played 27 minutes yesterday, had 19 points, 6 rebounds. Night prior, 39 minutes. I think that was a game Giannis may have missed, if I'm not mistaken, because he played that many minutes. Yeah. He had 21 points, 18 rebounds in that game. So if you want to look at a Bobby Portis prop possibly in this game, also chat pointing out Dame has been playing well offensively as well. I think it's a good spot here for the Milwaukee Bucks here tonight against this New York Knicks team.
I do want to ask you, though, since I pulled it up, just to look at the actual opponent's points in the paint per game. Do you want to know what the Knicks were last year in opponent points per game in the paint?
I think they're at least top 3.
So no, they weren't that great, but they were top 7. They were number
Okay.
7. Do you want to guess what they are this year?
Bottom 3.
They're bottom 8. So
Okay.
once again, you lose Hartenstein, you pick up Cat, your paint defense kind of falls apart. Now offensively, he's been great. Once again, props to Cat offensively. But when you're with Tibbs and your main goal as a defensive-minded coach is to secure the paint, try to prevent the opposition from getting free layups, and you give up a lot of them, have fun with Giannis. That's all I'm saying. Not exactly the best matchup for that paint defense.
Yep, I agree 100%. And again, if Cat does, we're going to see who is going to be guarding Mr. Cat. I mean, yeah, he probably gets a foul trouble. Maybe you throw.
I mean, what do you have? You throw Anunoby on him, and you hope he can just somewhat keep. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. All right. Before we get over to the next game on the schedule here, let me tell everyone about our good friends over at Rhythm. SGPN's partner Rhythm, the #1 AI-powered back sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predicted betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press the build a model for me. And Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Now you can track props in the Rhythm app, and Rhythm just launched their college basketball models as well. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. Easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN. So they know that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We'll go over to the next game on the schedule. We've got the Phoenix Suns. They are going to be in Dallas here tonight to take on the Mavericks. Mavericks are currently laying 2.5 points here at home with a total of 232. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams here. Give me 1 second. Let me get back to my page here. All right. So injury report. Start here with the road team, the Phoenix Suns. Bradley Beal is probable here tonight. Ryan Dunn is doubtful here tonight. He has a left ankle sprain. And then the rest of the guys are on G League deals for the Phoenix Suns. For the Dallas Mavericks, Maxi Kleber is doubtful here tonight. Derek Lively and both PJ Washington are out here tonight. And also Dante Exum as he recovers from right wrist surgery. So 2 key guys out for the Dallas Mavericks. These 2 teams did match up earlier this season in Phoenix. Shockingly, the Phoenix Suns did win that game because we know the history between these 2 teams and Luka. But that was back on, let's see here, October 26th, a 114-102 victory for the Suns. Dallas looking to avenge that loss here at home on Friday night here. Scott, what are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, so I like the under in this game at 232.5. I think it's too high. I feel like Phoenix had a lot of lower scoring games this season. If you want to just look at their numbers compared to this total so far this season, Phoenix said before they are currently 7-1, so 8-game sample size. They have gone under this number in just doing the math quickly in every game besides 2. So they've had a decent amount of low-scoring games. We know that they play at a bit of a slower pace in general, especially late in games. Dallas, though, that high-scoring game against Indiana, but besides that, we mostly know that they play a bit slower with Luka and company trying to keep them in the half court. So I think this total's too high. You said the first meeting ended up landing at 216. I don't think that 230 and change is a realistic total for this matchup. Might get there, but it feels too high to me. I'll go with the under. For Phoenix, though, every game they play is decided by between 1 and 10 points. Mm-hmm. Every game's close, and it feels like anytime you're picking them to potentially cover against a bad team, they never do, because all their games are, once again, within 5 points in the last 2 minutes of every game. So they've been winning in those games, but I'll go with Dallas to win at home. Then they'll get some revenge. Give me Dallas 1-10 for win margin. Phoenix plays a bunch of very close games, but I think Dallas gets over the finish line. Don't mind the under, though, in this matchup, too. Give me some type of 115, 110 final.
Yeah, Mavericks this season 4-2 at home straight up, 3-3 against spread, 4-2 towards the under. Yeah, this number did feel a little bit inflated. Again, like you mentioned, with the pace, just a pace factor for the Dallas Mavericks, where they like to play at a slower pace. And again, also missing those two key guys. I know they don't contribute a whole heck of a lot offensively, but PJ Washington, we know, can knock down some threes, and then Derek Lively catching some lobs, whether it's from Luca, Kyrie, or the case might be. So I think they're relying on some guys at the end of the bench there. Phoenix, I mean, you mentioned it, right? They're winning games. They don't give a damn about the spread here. 2-6 ATS thus far this season. They're 5-3 towards the over, and they are 3-0 towards the over at on the road there. But two of the games were against the Clippers. One was against the Lakers. I know we know Lakers aren't playing a lot of defense, especially on the road there. But yeah, I like the revenge angle here. The with the Dallas Mavericks, I think Luca obviously gets up to play against the Phoenix Suns. Just being at home, Dallas has been a profitable angle on a short number here at 2.5. So I think they can get the victory here by 3 points. Anything else for this game?
Not really. Once again, see in the comment section, Luka always kills this team. Not wrong. I think Luka could have a solid game. Tempted by Gafford in this matchup because with no Lively, I know that they have a Powell who's still in the rotation, but
Yeah.
I got to imagine Gafford gets a bump in minutes. So I don't mind Gafford, maybe blocks, maybe Gafford if you want to go for rebounds, maybe even a double-double. But without Lively, that should give some more minutes to Gafford in this matchup.
Yeah, I would honestly look at Nurkic rebounds without really any big men out there for, or lack thereof, for the
And
Dallas
Gafford's always
Mavericks.
in foul trouble, so he might end up with like Powell on him for a decent portion of this game.
Yeah, I don't. Just curious to see because I had bet Nurkic rebounds in the last game the Phoenix Suns had played at home, and I think he had like 12 by the half.
It's at 11 and a
Uh,
half. He's
yeah,
had at
so I
least
think
15 rebounds in 3 straight games.
yeah, so I would look at that. Do you see how many he had against the Mavericks in that matchup? 14.
Against the Mavericks, he had 14.
Okay, yeah, so I would look at that here tonight. For as far as a player prop here. Nurkic over 11.5 rebounds. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go to the Houston Rockets. They are in Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder. Thunder laying 8.5 points in this game with a total of 222. Injury report. Start here with the Rockets. They are going to be pretty healthy. Only player that is on G League assignment is Cam Whitmore. And Steven Adams is questionable here tonight. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, pretty clean injury report. The two usual suspects that have been on there are still out in Jalen Williams, and then Kenrich Williams is out as well. Thunder have been an absolute wagon to start this season. I mean, defensively, they've been really, really good. 7-1 straight up, 6-2 against the spread. Rockets have been pleasantly surprising this season as well. They're 5-3 straight up, 5-3 against the spread. Now they have to go up against one of the better teams, if not one of the best teams in the association, in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Scott, what do you think about this game with the Thunder 8.5-point home favorites?
Yeah, so Oklahoma City, we said before, has been great this season. Did lose the last game to Denver. Shout out to Westbrook and Joker for having monster games. Point is, though, Oklahoma City at home has been great. They've won all 3 home games by at least 12 points. But I do think I'm going to go with Houston plus the points. I feel like this game's going to be physical. I think it'll be a pretty intense battle. It wouldn't shock me if Dylan Brooks got a tech in this game at some point. But I'm going to go with the Rockets plus the points. They look good. Simply put, watching them play, it feels like they have a solid amount of chemistry. It feels like the team's kind of clicking, and I like their depth. Now, I think that the Thunder are the better team, but I don't think that they are going to run Houston out of the building. I think it'll be a closer game. I think Oklahoma City wins 7, maybe like 6, but I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. I think Houston's pretty good, and I think they're underrated. So give me Houston plus the points.
Yeah, defensively, they've actually been pretty good as well, and they've been one of the slower pace teams, I should say, as well to start the season here. I'm just trying to pull up the defensive rated numbers. I know Thunder, I think, are either 1 or 2. Yeah, they're number 1 by a wide margin defensively. Rockets actually are number 4 defensive rating thus far this season as well. So I think this will be a game where we do see a lower scoring game because the Rockets have really been involved in those lower scoring games as well. This is their 4th road game of the season. They are a perfect 3-0 towards the under in those games as well. Trying to pull up those final scores. So the 3 games that they played on the road, none of them have seen more than 215 points. And 2 of those games were against the Spurs. But But I think that this will be one of the lower scoring games here. Two top 5 defenses. I'll take the points here as well with the Rockets plus the 8.5. But my favorite play, and I will be betting, will be the under 222 in this game between the Rockets and the Spurs. Rockets and the Thunder, I should say. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We've got the let's go to the Wizards. They are going to be in Memphis here tonight to take on the Grizzlies. Grizzlies are currently 7.5-point favorites in this game with a total of, 231 in this game. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, start here with the Washington Wizards. Wizards are going to be without, of course, Saddiq Bey, who's dealing with recovery from ACL surgery. Malcolm Brogdon, the usual suspects. Kyle Kuzma is also out for this game as he deals with the right groin strain. And Marvin Bagley III is questionable here tonight for the Wizards. For the Memphis Grizzlies, players that are out: Desmond Bane, Gigi Jackson, Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, Cam Spencer, Vince Williams Jr. are all out here tonight, and John Conchar is questionable here tonight. Grizzlies laying 7.5, especially with all those names being out. Scott, what are you thinking about the spread here?
Yeah, it's a lot of points without Ja, but I feel like the Wizards are still an atrocious team. Now, it's kind of funny because they've played 5 of their 6 games at home, and the one road game they won, which I find pretty funny. But the point is, Memphis has been kind of a mess this season. Did have a good game against the Lakers, but they've been playing better lately. No Ja, that was a big deal because Ja's been walking into a double-double basically in every game. I really am not a big fan of this Memphis team, but I think I am going to go with them. Usually they're good at home. Usually, keyword. The Wizards haven't played a road game in a while. They beat the Hawks a couple weeks ago, but with them traveling back on the road, I think it might be a bad spot for them. I think I am going to go Memphis, but it's a game where I don't really know if I want to bet it because they're basically the Memphis infirmary right now. So it's tough to actually fully trust this team with all the injuries they have. But the Wizards not playing many road games, I think, hurts, and I think that the crowd will get into it. So give me the Grizzlies to get the job done here. Once again, not a fun game. You might want to live bet it. You might get a better number, but I think they win this game by 10. I mean, the Wizards, with the exception of that game against the Hawks, or the 2 games against the Hawks, who don't guard anybody, they've gotten their asses kicked in basically every other game. So usually they lose by double digits. I'll take the Grizzlies minus 7.5.
God, if there's one game I could cross off the list, it would probably be this one.
I think it was going to be the Orlando game for me, but you can make an argument that this one's in the conversation too.
Yeah. I mean, gun to my head, I'd go Wizards plus the 7.5. Yeah, they also have the rest advantage. I don't know if that means a lot early in the season. But the Wizards do have 2+ days of rest advantage in this game, and maybe a flat spot for them coming off of the Lakers game, like we just mentioned there. Maybe it's a Scottie Pippen Jr. game if you want to look at a double for him.
I like him. Good player.
Yeah. So I would look at it that way. But yeah, I really don't have much. I really didn't have much for this game when I was looking at it. Just trying to see if they have this double posted just yet or not. But no, not yet. So maybe you get something closer to game time for Scottie Pippen Jr. there. Maybe see if his assists are up. Let's see before we move on here. Not yet. So maybe wait closer to game time for him. I think that'd be a good look in this game here for the Wizards side of things. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here. We got a rematch of the NBA Finals from a couple of seasons ago. The Miami Heat, they are in the Mile High City to take on the Denver Nuggets. Denver is laying 3 points in this game with a total of 222. Injury report for both of these teams. Start with the Heat. Tyler Hero is available. He's dealing with a lower back contusion. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is questionable here tonight. And Kevin Love continues to be out for this Miami Heat team. For the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray is questionable here tonight. He has been in concussion protocol. We know about Aaron Gordon, who's going to be missing for the next several weeks with a right calf strain. And that is pretty much it for the Denver side of things. We just mentioned Denver had that impressive victory behind a really great performance behind Joker and Westbrook against the Thunder, but now they are hosting the Miami Heat here, laying 3 points. Scott, what are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, Denver's actually been good lately without Murray. I can say that I have not missed watching. What?
No, just they trade them because they've been playing so good.
Well, my point is I haven't missed them. I feel like people are like, oh, yeah, Murray's out, and nobody's really noticed because Westbrook's actually been pretty good since joining the starting lineup. But I don't think the Heat are any good. The Heat are this weird team where people are still expecting them to actually do something, and they're well past their window. Let's put it that way. They're in some close games, and they fall apart in the fourth quarter. Did it against Phoenix. Did it against Sacramento. I don't trust this team. Denver is at home. I know that they have not been amazing in general, but they've been better lately. Joker's stat lines are so ridiculous the last 2 weeks. He's been an absolute monster. Westbrook was great against the Thunder. I think it's a confidence boost, though. You know, you ended up beating one of the best teams in the league. You weren't exactly in great form. You struggled against the Raptors basically on 2 separate occasions this season. Got the job done. Or was it 3 separate occasions? You get my point. They've not exactly looked sharp, but Joker's been a monster. Westbrook's been better. Peyton Watson in the starting lineup, pretty good so far in his short amount of time with Gordon being out. So I'm going to go Denver. Not the biggest fan of either team right now, but I got to take Joker. He's the best player on the planet by a wide margin as far as I'm concerned. He's an absolute monster. You can expect a triple-double. You can go for points, rebounds, and assists, whatever you really want to do. But we saw Bam try to guard him in the playoffs last year. Didn't go too well. And Bam's been low-key bad so far this season. So give me Joker to dominate again. Give me Denver by like 5. I'll go with Denver -3.
Yeah, I mean, just the last 3 games for the Joker, it's just, I mean, you could go back even 5 games of how incredible that he's been for this Denver Nuggets team. He's had at least 13 assists in 4 of the last 5 games. He's had at least 14 rebounds in 4 of the last 5 games. He's had at least 26 points in 4 of the last 5 games as well. So couldn't talk you off of any Joker props here tonight. Folks are expecting this to be a closer game. But Miami, they are 3-0 against spread on the road. Again, very, very small sample thus far. They are 2-1 straight up in those spots. But the 2 teams that they played early in the season on the road was the Hornets and Wizards. So not sure how much you want to take that away.
It wasn't even a road game, by the way. They played in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, which one that the Wizards game, right?
So that technically was a road game, but it wasn't actually a road game.
Yeah. So they have a tough schedule coming up as far as they're on the midst of I think at least a 5-game road trip here.
And they've been good anyway. You mentioned a couple of the opponents. Like the Heat have just been a team that doesn't really do much for you at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, Denver -3 for me here as well. Total 222, Scott. Anything on the total?
I like the under. When the teams get together, it tends to be an absolute slugfest based on them killing each other. I'll go with the under. Then the pace will be non-existent in this matchup. I think that if Miami's going to keep it close, they're going to have to be physical with Joker, trying to slow the overall pace and just to make it a physical grind of a game. Give me the under. I think the first team to maybe 108 wins. Not sure either team reaches 110, so I'll go with the under in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off of the under there. I was just looking at what the rebound.
The head-to-head history has been a bunch of low-scoring games between these teams.
Yeah, let me see what that's been outside of the playoffs as well. Let's go back to like 2018. All right, so since 2018 when these 2 teams match up 17 times, the Miami Heat are 2-15 straight up, 4-13 against the spread, 10-7 towards the under, and they have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight games. And yeah, like I mentioned, the ATS numbers there as well. So
if you are just going by regular season, ignoring the finals, the Nuggets have won 8 straight.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Next game on the schedule, we'll go over to the Portland Trailblazers. They are in Minnesota here tonight to take on the Timberwolves. Let me get back to my odd screen here. Okay, I said load slowly here. Let me see if I can get another book or another screen here.
I see 12.5 for Minnesota.
Yeah, I see a 12.5 there as well. 12.5 the number on the spread in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Total in this game is sitting at 219.5 here, Scott. Let me get over to the injury report for these teams. Start here with the road team. Minnesota, not yet submitted because, like we mentioned, they did play last night on Thursday against the Chicago Bulls. For the Minnesota Timberwolves as well, they played last night as well. So both these teams are on a back-to-back here. So keep an eye on the injury report for both of these teams here, Scott. But 12.5 is a number, assuming that at least for the Minnesota side of things, Anthony Edwards and company do play here tonight. But what are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the over in this matchup. I don't trust either team to guard anybody. We saw the Wolves come back yesterday. I thought the Bulls were alive. They were. And they gave up 45 points in the fourth quarter at home, and they got blown out. So the Bulls were definitely there for about 3.5 quarters. So I'm not exactly sold on the Wolves' form. I don't want to lay this with Minnesota. I don't think they're good enough to be laying 12.5. I feel like this is a team that is also a bit overhyped right now. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but they're not great. I don't want to lay 12.5. But I am going to go with the over because I saw the Blazers get torched yesterday defensively against the Spurs. The Spurs can't score, and they had a lot of good opportunities against that team. And the Wolves offensively scored 135 last night. So I like the over in this game. Give me points. I think that Portland can hang in there. I don't want to like 12.5 on a back-to-back with a Minnesota team that has not been good ATS. So I'll pass on that option. But give me the over. I think we get into the 220s.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off of the under.
I like the over in the game.
I'm sorry, the over. I'm sorry. Yeah, the over. I'm going to let everyone in on a little secret that's been very, very profitable for me is betting on the Portland Trail Blazers opponents' team totals in the third quarter to go over. Portland Trail Blazers in that, I don't know what's going on at halftime with the Blazers, but the Blazers are allowing 36 points per game in that third quarter in specific to their opponents. Last night, they gave up 35. I think there's only been one instance where a team hasn't gotten over their team total in that third quarter. I think I'm like 7-1 betting those. And I think I'll be going right back to that here tonight. So that's one thing I wanted to mention to our listeners there. Bet the third quarter team total over for Blazers opponents because they are giving up close to 36 points in that third quarter to their opponents. But I do agree about the over in this game. Obviously, the Wolves are not that same defensive team that we saw in years past. Maybe still working through the kinks or whatever the case might be. But we take a look at their defensive rating thus far this season. Minnesota, right around league average. For the Portland Trail Blazers, the number 8 team. Again, both these teams being on back-to-back, you'll get some tired legs here. So at least I know Portland, they can put the points, they can score points, but they just haven't been able to slow anybody down here. So I'll take the over there with you, Scott. As far as the side there, I'm not sure I want to lay the points like you mentioned here with this Wolves team. It's going to be one of those things where they do get backdoored, do the Minnesota Timberwolves if they are out to a lead there. But Blazers, they've been pretty competitive, and I can't take that away from them. So, yeah, Blazers plus the 12.5 here would be the number, or that the way I would look in this game. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Next game on the schedule, we've got let's go with the Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers in this game. Sixers in LA, or staying in LA, I should say, because they just played the Clippers. They are going to be taking on the LA Lakers in this game. Numbers for this game: the Lakers, a 7.5 point home favorite with a total of 222.5. Injury report. Start here with the Sixers. They will be, of course, without Joel Embiid, who is serving that suspension. And I did read that he's going to make his season debut next Tuesday. So for the Sixers there. So Embiid coming back next week. Tyrese Maxey is going to be out for this game. He's dealing with a right hamstring injury. For the Lakers, Anthony Davis is probable. Rui Hachimura is questionable. Jackson Hayes is probable. And then, of course, Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood continue to be out for the Lakers here. Lakers laying 7.5 in this game here, Scott. Total 222.5. What are your thoughts?
Quick question. Do you know how many games the Lakers have won this season by at least 8 points?
I will say 0.0.
That is correct. They've won 0 games by 8+ points. Give me the Lakers minus 7.5 in this game. I think it's going to start here. I think it's a good spot for the Lakers at the end of the day. I've roasted this team for the last week because they cannot play on the road to save their lives. They're an awful road team. They're 3-0 at home. They've been this way for years. Staples Center, Crypto Center, whatever you want to call it, they win home games. So the Sixers basically have nobody. They have Paul George, and that's it. And Paul George hasn't exactly been great since coming back. He's been fine. But you have no Embiid. You have no Maxey. They're going to have to rely a lot on like Caleb Martin and guys to step up. But have fun watching Drummond try to guard Anthony Davis, assuming Davis is going to play in this game. So I'm going to go Lakers here. I just think that Philly's missing too many guys. Yes, I think the Lakers are, once again, an overrated team, but they are a lot better at home than on the road. And I do think after losing a couple of games in that, I'd say, finale on the road trip, losing to Detroit, they lost by Memphis. They lost to Memphis by like 20. Think that it's a good spot for the Lakers to dominate a pretty weak team. But going through Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre and Paul George and Caleb Barton, no, I'm good. Give me the Lakers minus 7.5. Think they'll win by 10.
Yeah, I can't trust the Sixers team right now. Defensively, they have been very good. They're bottom 10 to start the season here, a net rating of minus 8.5. And of course, yes, a lot of that because they didn't have Paul George. They don't have Joel Embiid just yet. So they're kind of treading water here are the Philadelphia 76ers. But you mentioned, right, the Lakers for years have been great at home, and the road struggles continue. And that's continued this season here as well. This will be their first home game in quite some time because they were coming off that road trip, of course. First home game since October 26th here. So Lakers for me, Lakers team total over would be another look in this game here as well. I think that, like you mentioned, Anthony Davis should have a big game here for the Lakers. It's just I don't think that there's been enough scoring for the Philadelphia 76ers in this game. And Paul George coming back from the injury, still trying to get his legs under him. Maxey being out, that's a big blow for this team here as well. So, I mean, they've had their top three guys. I mean, one you've been without the entire season, one missing now with Tyrese Maxey with the injury, and now you're trying to rely on Paul George to kind of carry this team right now. So, I mean, obviously, when those all three guys are going to be back, this team might be a bet on team and fun to watch offensively. But right now, against this Lakers team at home, I can't get there to the window. So, yeah, Lakers for me, Lakers team total over. You have anything else for this game?
Not really. I think AD should have a solid game. I don't mind Caleb Martin RA in this matchup. Somebody's got to do something. Maybe Lowry shows up, but who knows? I feel like the Lakers, once again, at home are actually competent. On the road, not so much. I'll keep backing that duality with this team.
All right. Last game of the night, we've got the LA Clippers. They are in Sacramento to take on the Kings. Kings laying 6.5 here at home with a total of 223.5. Looking at the injury report, start here with the Clippers. Mo Bamba is out. Of course, Kawhi Leonard, and that is pretty much it. For the Sacramento Kings, clean injury report. The two guys that have been on there all season has been Devin Carter and Orlando Robinson, but a fully healthy squad here for the Sacramento Kings here. Scott, 6.5 is a number for the Kings at home. Total 223.5. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really like either of these teams. Sacramento doesn't guard anybody. You're looking at the Clippers, who are really, once again, just not that impressive, especially in the second half of games. I'll go with a fun prop, which is on DraftKings. Give me the largest comeback in the game. 10 plus points, plus 270. I don't trust either of these teams to hold the lead to save their lives. Give me the largest comeback, 10 plus points by either team at plus 270.
Yeah, I mean, laying points with the
I'd pick the Clippers if I had to pick a side, but yeah. I don't trust either team to do anything. I'll go over, but once again, give me the comeback angle at plus 270.
Yeah, Kings this season at home. This will be their fourth game. 2-1 straight up, 2-1 against the spread, but they played the Wolves, the Trailblazers, and the Raptors. And the game that they did cover were against the two poorest teams, I guess we can say. The Raptors, they won that game by 15, and the Blazers as well. Clippers have actually been decent this season. I mean, James Harden's playing pretty well for this team. They are 4-4. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people expected, especially with the departure of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard being out as well. Yeah, I'll Clippers would be the pick here for me. Didn't really love anything as far as a total in this game. Do you have anything for the total?
Not really. I think I'm going to go over because I don't trust the Kings to guard anybody. But this game will come down to the wire because these teams always come down to the wire when they're against each other. And neither team I really trust in the fourth quarter. So I think I trust the Kings more to find a way to get the job done because they do have DeRozan, they do have Fox, they have a couple of closers on the roster. But the Clippers games have just been extremely up and down. And it looks like a different team in the first half and the second half every game. So I just see a bit of chaos here mixed in. So give me the over, and I'll go with the dog. But I do like that largest comeback play at plus 270.
All right, that is the last game on the schedule here for the Friday night card. Let's get over to our lock and dog picks, and then we'll put together our underdog fantasy entry here for tonight for the Friday card here. Scott, you want to lead us off with your lock and dog?
Sure. So I am wondering what I want to go with because I know for YouTube I gave out a player prop, but I don't know if I want to give it out again. For this matchup or slate, what do I want to do? I mean, I really think the Celtics get the crap out of the Nets, but I don't know if I actually want to lay that as my lock on the show.
Mhm.
For my lock, I know what my dog's going to be. Let me just think about this for a second. You know what? I think I am going to trust my instincts with it. Give me the Nuggets and the Heat. I'll go with the under in that game at around. Sorry, just looking at the actual. Or do I want to go Denver on the side? What do I want to go with? No, I'll go with the under in this game between the
Okay.
Heat and the Nuggets. I think the pace will be non-existent between these teams. Head-to-head history has suggested that it's going to be a very low-scoring game. If you want to look at the actual meetings in the past, I know that the teams are different, but each of the last two meetings landed below 201. So they tend to have a lot of rock fights when they get together. You have seen each of the last three games go under the 221 number. I just think it's too high. I think you're looking at what should be a pretty ugly game. Miami offensively has not been great this season. Denver might get Murray back. I don't know if that's better. I don't know if that's good or not. They were great against the Thunder, and they had a great offensive game against Utah and Toronto, two teams that don't guard anybody. But I think that the Heat will bring the physicality. I think it'll be a lower scoring game once again. Give me the under at around 220. Was it 222 and a half? 221 and a half as my
Yeah.
lock there. Give me the under. Then the game will end somewhere in the 210s. For my dog, you know what? I'll go to the I kind of want to do 1 to 10, but I don't know which matchup because I thought about doing the Mavericks to win 1 to 10 against the Suns, but I don't know if I actually want to lock that in or not. You know what? I think I am going to go with the fun prop there that I said before. Give me the Clippers and Kings game, largest comeback, 10 plus points, plus 270. I love the price on it. Why not? If it wins, I get to laugh about it. If not, then I never take it again. But plus 270 is pretty fun. I'll go with that as my dog.
All right. All right. For my lock, it's gonna be the over in the Bucks and the Knicks game. I know the Bucks are on a back-to-back. I think Giannis does end up playing in this game, but I think that defensively right now for the Knicks, they just haven't been able to figure it out quite yet. Um, and Bucks defensively just have not been very good. I think that we'll see a lot of offense in this game. Talked about how the Knicks really don't have that rim protection right now, especially without Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa to stay in front of a guy like Giannis. Damian Lillard also has been playing very well over the last three games for the Bucks there as well. I think the Knicks can get theirs offensively in this game here to contribute to that over. So I'll take the over in that game. The official number right now is at 223. For my dog, I was trying to look for a rebounding prop on Goga Bataze.
Okay.
His number's at 8.5.
He is starting now.
Yeah. And obviously the Pelicans don't have that center and dealing with all those injuries. So 10 plus rebounds for him is at plus 150 here tonight. I'll take that as my dog here tonight. Goga Bataze starting center starting right now for the Orlando Magic. 10 plus rebounds at plus 150. If you do want to side for a dog, I think the Warriors could go in there and beat the Cavs outright to hand them their first loss. I really do like the way they've been playing. I didn't want to give that out just because we're waiting for those two injury news for Draymond Green and Brendan Pajemski. So if one or two of those guys is playing here tonight, or both are great, then I would be on the Warriors. But I just didn't want to give that out with questionable text on those two guys here tonight. So, but I'll go with the dog, Goga Bataze for the Orlando Magic, 10 plus rebounds, plus 150 here tonight as
I
my
think
dog.
I think if I was going for like an actual dog besides the random niche prop for the Clippers, I would go Mavericks 1 to 10 in that game against the Suns. I think it'll be close. I am going to go with Dallas at home, but I think that should be a pretty decent option. Phoenix only plays close games.
Yeah.
It's just what they do. So I think that's going to go back to, once again, what they've been kind of prone to falling into, which is a very close game late. I'll back Luka and Kyrie down the stretch. But I just want to quickly see what the price is on that, if I could find it, just to throw that out there too. Because yes, I do enjoy the largest comeback, but Mavericks 1-10 plus 185. I'll give that out too as a bonus play.
All right. Let's go with our underdog fantasy entry here for tonight. Let's see. Where do we want to start here? Well, obviously, remember, if you haven't already signed up with Underdog Fantasy Underdog Fantasy, what are you waiting for? Make sure you use that promo code NBA You get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. But make sure you use that promo code NBA over at Underdog Fantasy. All right, Scott, where do we want to start here? We want to throw Jokic in there some way, somehow?
Oh, that's fine. You know that I'm a big fan of Joker. So if you want to go for PRA, I'm not against it. Guy walks into 13 assists a game.
Yeah, PRA right now is at 50.5 for Jokic.
I can't even argue it because he can walk in there with like 20 rebounds. I can't really disagree with that.
All right, so we'll go with that. What else do you like for tonight? Anything else sticking out?
Well, my YouTube play was Brunson. I had Brunson over his points because he owns Milwaukee. He's had 36 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games against Milwaukee. So I think Brunson's in line for a great game. So I thought about that. If you want to go for another option, we know Luka owns Phoenix. If you want to go for that option too. But you mentioned Nurkic. I don't know if you want to go for Nurkic rebounds.
Yeah, I like the Nurk angle in that. Okay, well, okay, there we go. The app just crashed on me, but we're back up. All right. Yeah, I like the Nurk angle. I thought this number would be a lot higher, and it's also spicy a little bit as well at 1.04x. So we'll go higher with Nurk, and then I'll let you pick between Luka or Brunson.
So just ask, what's the number on Luka, out of curiosity?
His points?
Yeah.
31.5.
I'll go Brunson.
Brunson is
27.5. I think is too low for Brunson. Once again, he's at 36 plus in 4 of the 5 games, I think 4 of the 5 games last year because they had an NBA Cup game. He had 36 plus points. He just owns this team.
28.5 is a number for Brunson.
Yeah, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, I think he still walks into 30. All right. So there we go. Our entry here for tonight, Underdog Fantasy. We're going to go with the Joker. Points, rebounds, and assists higher, 50.5. We'll go Yusuf Nurkic higher, 11.5 rebounds. And then we'll go Jalen Brunson higher, 28.5 points. That entry right now gets you a return of 6.2x. So every $10 that you put on this entry, you'll get a return of $62.40. But again, make sure you get over there, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. And Scott, before we do wrap it up, we always do our best to see if there are any birthdays here for tonight in the association. And I'm quickly taking a look here. I do not see Keontae George's birthday is today, but I don't think the Jazz are playing here tonight, of course. But
by the way, Helms, I didn't ignore
no
your
birthdays
play.
tonight.
I was going to let you keep the pool under RA. I still agree with it. I'm just going to let you have it. That's yours. I can't recycle that play. That's yours.
All right, so that is it here for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Do us a favor, once the stream is over, leave your lock and dog, or if you have any props you're looking at for the Friday card in the comment section. We'll greatly appreciate that, and it will be interesting what you guys are betting on here tonight as well. Scott, anything else for the NBA here for tonight?
No, not really. Once again, a lot of games on the card should be fun. Hopefully we'll get some competitive basketball. Can't be worse than yesterday.
Definitely cannot be worse than yesterday with all the blowouts that we did have in the association. But a lot of games here tonight. Should be a fun night of hoops, of course. And we'll be back next week for the NBA Gambling Podcast starting on Monday. So look out for us then. Make sure you guys follow Scott over on the Twitter machine at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. If you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. We'll greatly appreciate that. And you can follow us on Twitter as well at SGPNNBA. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. Till then, good luck with your bets. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.
Basketball, give me the ball because I'm gone.